Hey, everybody. Welcome to the very first edition of the Marketing Soapbox. So I am your host, Liz Scott, and we're going to talk about getting raw and real with marketing in our businesses. So every Thursday at 1, I'm going to go live with a special guest, and we're going to talk about a couple of different things. We're going to talk about what's trending in your specific industry. So I'm going to have guests from all different industries, and they're going to talk about what the hot trends are in their industry. And then we're going to talk about what is really working for them as a small business owner in terms of marketing. And then we're going to get really raw and real and talk about what are our pet peeves. What are the things in marketing that really are not working and are not serving us? One of the things I talk about a lot is that Facebook facade in our businesses and in our lives, where we make it look like everything is perfect. Everything is wonderful. It's all flowers and roses. But then when you have a real conversation with a business owner, you find out that they're struggling in a lot of areas. So I am a sales and marketing coach and consultant for small business owners. And the reason that I started the Marketing Soapbox was because, as I said, I think we need to get raw and real, because there's so much information out there about what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. But let's talk about what's really working and what's not working. So what am I going to talk about today? I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the new hot trends, and then I'm going to talk a bit about some of the things that just aren't working anymore. So as everybody probably knows, Facebook changed their algorithm a few months ago, and there's been massive frustration around that. So what's happening is people are migrating in droves over to Instagram. Now, yes, I understand that Facebook owns Instagram, but for some reason, people seem to think that they're more authentic on Instagram. And you're not getting as much verbiage as you usually do. You don't get these long posts. Also, people are loving the stories, right? So you can go on to Instagram stories and tell a little bit about what's going on in your world, your business, what's coming up. So it used to be that Instagram stories would only stay on your feed for 24 hours. But now what you can do is you can go into stories highlights and save it there, and then you have a permanent record of what's going on in your stories. So the trend seems to be getting away from Facebook because they've limited the number of people that can pop up in your feed, et cetera, and moving over into Instagram. And while Instagram is predominantly visual, now when you add in stories, it really can work for any kind of a business. So it doesn't really matter what your business is. So that's an upcoming trend that's happening at a very rapid rate. So on the downside, what is a trend that seems to be fading away? And one of my personal pet peeves in marketing, and I have a lot of dear friends who are content marketers, but one of my pet peeves is that, that whole content is king, and, you've got to be constantly bombarding people with content. But here's the reality. 3 years ago, the average attention span of the average North American was 12 seconds. Now it's 7, which means we don't even have the bandwidth to absorb content. So why are we creating these reams and reams and reams of infographics and blogs and, tons of content, et cetera, et cetera? People are spending about 7 seconds, which is why video like these, YouTube lives, Instagram stories, brilliant, because they happen at a much faster pace and they hold people's attention spans a little bit longer. But here's the other pet peeve that I have with people who say, yeah, content is king and you need to be constantly creating content. It's exhausting as a business owner. Who has time for that? I don't have time to be constantly creating new content. And my personal philosophy is that's the wrong thing to do. Find something amazing and then reuse it and repurpose it wherever you possibly can. On your website, in your videos, in your marketing brochures. And then just pivot your business slightly with the same content. So change your geography, change your target audience slightly, change your vertical slightly. But to constantly be creating content in this day and age, I personally do not believe that that is the right way to go. And I don't believe people have the bandwidth to process it. And I don't think that we as small business owners really have the bandwidth to create that. So that's a little bit about what's going on in the small business world right now. I'm super excited about hosting this event. I think it's going to be a great way for people to, as I said, get raw and real and talk about the things that are amazing in their industries, but also the things that aren't working really well necessarily. So if you're interested in becoming a guest on my show, then hit me up. I have a number of shows lined up already, but I'm always open to chatting with new people, sharing the word out there, just generally helping people with their marketing initiatives. So next week, same time, we're always going to do this live at 1 o'clock on Thursdays, is going to be a really interesting topic. So we're going to talk about what's going on in the cannabis and cannabis-related industries. So you've probably heard a lot about edibles, medical marijuana. Trending really high is cannabis for pets because apparently it's miraculous for animals that have anything to do with joint pains or respiratory pains. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's trending in the industry, and I'll give you some statistics and some ideas. But then my guest is going to talk about her cannabis-related business, what she's finding, what the trends are, and then she's also going to talk a little bit about what some of the backlash is, because raw and real, there is backlash. There is backlash in reality going on from a lot of different areas on the cannabis industry. So I think it's going to be super fun. Thank you for joining in. The show typically is going to run around 20 minutes. It'll be a split screen format. Today's a little bit shorter because it's just a tiny taste of what's going to be happening in the upcoming weeks. So thanks again. I am Liz Scott on the Marketing Soapbox. Let's get raw. Let's get real with our marketing. See everybody next week. Thanks.